Welcome everybody to the Detecting History podcast, and I'm so pleased this week. It's a long time coming. I've got Marcus Ingram on from Regton. How you doing, Marcus?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. Nice to speak to you, Kate.
Brilliant. Lovely to speak to you. Everybody knows the name Regton, especially in the UK. One of my first guests was Digger Dawn. Obviously, she's and does a lot of good stuff for you, the Christmas Jaws, etc. And I've been a long time fan. And yes, I have always got my gear from yourself. And always found the service to be amazing from yourself and Seb as well. Always helping me out. So it's great to get you on. And just wanted really to talk about not only Regton, but yourself, metal detecting, the passion for metal detecting, what it gives us as people in a community. So yeah, welcome. First of all, tell me, whereabouts in the country is Regton? Where are you sat talking to us right now?
Regton is based in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Smack in the centre of the country.
Yeah.
Easy access to the motorways,
Yes.
trains, buses, canals. There's a canal actually only 60 feet to the left, and we have had people come by barge to us in the past.
Wow. Proper old school transport. And of course, plane. You might as well mention plane as well. You got the airport in Birmingham, haven't you? Fantastic. And Regton's been going a long time, hasn't it? I was doing some research last night, and it's been going for a long time. Tell me about that. When did Regton's first open its doors?
Right. Regton, I have to look myself over. 1981 was when it was registered. Started out of the ashes of my father's business. My father was selling Derek Ingram.
Yeah.
He started a company called Treasure Hunting Specialists. That was probably around about 1970, 71. He was using detectors in 1968.
Wow.
Treasure Hunting Specialists was in Birmingham in two places, in Newtown, not far from here. Most people remember it. If you ever went to it, you remember the sand pit. It was a raised box test area with sand in.
Yes.
Most people remember that. But he was an engineer by trade. He was an RAF pilot as well.
Wow.
He was, I'd describe him as an eccentric Englishman in a way, but he was always making things and doing things. He helped Nigel set up the tooling for making trowels. I'm just going to nip out a shot for a second.
That's all right.
That is one of the trowels that we used to make back in the 1980s.
I love that.
This kind of tooling here was my father created. And actually passed on to Blackadder, and Blackadder have since moved on and developed that even further. But Regton started making those, making the S-shaped handle for metal detectors, which was an original patent by my father.
Wow.
And we started making, what else would you do? Coil covers, when coil covers weren't a thing. We had a vac forming machine here.
Yeah.
And Regton started from that. And because of our use and knowledge of metal detecting from children and father's knowledge at the time, people asked, can we get a metal detector from you?
Yes.
Can you get me one? And that's how it started with Fieldmaster, Savo, Rimatron, as it was. What else was there? C-scope, of course. And eventually Tesoro, Fisher came onto the scene as well, Whites. And we started buying machines and selling machines. I can remember my brother actually saying, do you reckon I should get a second machine for stock?
Yeah.
How far back it goes.
Wow, that's amazing. I certainly wasn't aware of such an impact Regton and your family has had on detecting as a whole, not just as a retailer, obviously, and a big name in metal detecting, but on the engineering side. That's fascinating with the patents and the coil covers. Of course, couldn't do without coil covers, couldn't we?
Coil covers aren't essential. They're on the XP machines because of the charging connection.
Yeah,
no, they're not essential on a metal detector. They're there as added protection. You wear a shoe on your foot to protect your foot. You don't have to wear shoes. You can run and walk in barefoot if you like, but the added protection is there.
Yes. The amount of hours some of us put in, it's wise, I think, to have a coil cover, isn't it?
I've seen many a coil here that has been well worn through all the layers of the resin, and there's multiple layers on resin coils. But I can remember my brother and I being at a rally, and the guy said, "I was using my machine, and it stopped working. Can you have a look at it for me?" And we
Yeah.
turned it over, and this was when they were foam-filled coils. We turned it upside down and looked at it, and there was no coil cover. There was just the inside of a coil. In fact, okay,
Wow.
now a shot.
I'm
Imagine,
just grabbing the coil.
imagine,
Oh,
imagine this is a foam-filled insert of a coil. It's actually a Minelab coil,
yeah.
days of old. But imagine turning over, and that's what you see, um, covered in dirt. And the guy said, and we were going, well, how long has it been like that? And he said, oh, for weeks. And there were other people in the market. It was at a rally, burst out laughing. And he goes, what's the problem? He said, it shouldn't be working at all. This happened a long time ago.
That's so
Can it be
funny.
repaired? No.
You might want to treat yourself to something new. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So yourself then, obviously your father, but when did you start personally detecting? When did you get into it?
My first recollection of metal detecting, I say to people, is when I was 7 years old. Um, I had used detectors before. Our grandparents had a cottage on Anglesey, and so Nigel and myself grew up beach detecting, playing with boats, fishing, rock climbing, all sorts of things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But I was 7 years old. My first recollection, 1972. So I've given my age away. And my father had stopped metal detecting in a woods because he wanted to have yet another cigarette. He was a bit of a chain smoker.
Yeah.
And he gave me a C-scope in one hand and a knife, actually, in the other. Because he only used the knife for digging things out,
Yeah.
never a spade or a trowel in those days. And I went off, and I came back about 5 minutes later, handed in the detector in one hand, handed him some items in the other, and ran off. He goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to play on the swings." And he opens his hand because he
Yeah.
clenched it as I dropped it. And in his hand is a 2p piece.
Yeah.
1972, first year of decimalisation. 2p piece, 50p piece, and a gold ring. The gold ring had a tiniest diamond in the centre, set in a kind of star shape.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember he's shouting, coming back, and his cigarette was hanging off his lip, trying to talk to me. And that's my first recollection of using a metal detector, was actually, and it is genuine, finding that gold ring at 2p and a 50p. The
Wow.
ring was actually in his shop in Newtown, treasure hunting specialists, in a cabinet on display for many a year, until one year it got stolen, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. But look at you. You're one of these folks we talk about, and you go out your first time at 7 years old and you find gold and a gold ring there.
Well, Seb, who now works for us, my eldest, I've got two stories about kids as well. Both their first recollections. Seb was about 10 years old. We're gone back to where my grandparents had a cottage, and I said, "Come on, have a go with metal on the beach." No, I want to go and play with a spade or whatever. That would embarrass him. And I gave him an Ace 250, handed it to him and a sand scoop. Said, "Right, off you go down the beach. You'll find loads down that area. We always did."
Hmm.
I'm in the back of the car. Suddenly, the detector comes into the back of the car again. What's going on? And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to do any better than this," and hands me a ring. He thought it was gold, and so he put the detector in, handed me the ring, and grabbed a spade and ran off. And what do you do when a 10-year-old says, "I'm not going to do any better than this for his first find," and runs off? I went, well, I suppose he's not really, but he wasn't. It was a mood ring where it changes
Oh,
colour, but he
yes.
thought it was gold. So,
Oh,
and then my youngest, just after COVID, he was 6.5 then, and he was out on a field with me, Seb, and my brother. Four of us had gone detecting. And no, sorry, five. Jacob was there as well. He's not into detecting. After 20 minutes, he was just doing this and spinning around like a propeller. So he's not going to get into metal detecting at the moment. It might change. But
yeah.
Matthew, he was really good. He was using an Oryx shortened down. And the first thing he found was a tiny silver ear stud.
Oh, wow.
Now that's his first recollection of metal
Yes.
detecting.
Wow.
But he's kind of a natural swinger of a detector. He went detecting with me and Seb 2 Sundays ago. We went out with a local club, and
Yeah.
Matthew came with us. He's now 9 years old.
There you go. It'll grab them all. It's obviously in the DNA because each of you in different generations have found something magnificent on the first go. I love the fact that Seb did the same thing you did to your father and literally like chucked it in your hand and ran off.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, in terms of, excuse me, in terms of equipment, what was your first detector? Do you recall your very first own detector, and what are you using or
No,
favouring now?
to be honest, I've never had, because of my father owning a metal detector shop, my brother
Yeah,
running a metal detector shop, and me helping him from quite an early age of me working, not for this company.
yeah.
I was a buyer in the building industry, and I used to
Oh,
leave work on a Friday, come drive down to Birmingham, take everything out of the shop, put it into a van, and drive with Nigel to a rally somewhere in the country.
yeah.
It was Dover or Dundee was the furthest north we went.
Oh, wow.
So we did, I think, 8 weekends in a or 7 or 8 weekends in a row once. That killed us basically. But
Yeah,
never had to own a metal detector.
yeah. Because you've got them
Very,
all.
very fortunate.
all
If I
done.
wanted one, I'd just go and grab one of those over there or over there. Um,
It's the dream.
However, and I actually never really kept one at home either.
Mm,
But after COVID, yes, I now keep 3 machines at home. So I have
brilliant.
the Oryx, which I mentioned Matthew had used. I
Yeah,
have a DS 2 currently
yeah.
as the main machine. And I also have an Apex. And the
Ah,
Apex is a little
yes.
bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's one of those intermediate simultaneous multi-frequency machines it does everything that you need it to do.
Mhm.
It's a brilliant wet beach machine.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I use that beach detecting. And generally when I go to Wales, I'll take that with me.
Well, that's interesting to know because a lot of us love the thought of beach detecting, but it's a struggle, isn't it? And the different
It's
detectors have got different salt modes, and yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
these days multi frequency. If you go back in time, multi frequency, you had the Sovereign, which is BBS technology. You had the Explorer,
Yeah.
uh, FBS, and you also had Whites. Whites
Mhm.
had multi-frequency machines at the same time, but not
Oh.
many people realise that. So the V3i was a multi-frequency machine,
Mm.
but overcomplicated. It had 56 features, I think it did, or no, 108 features you could play with on it, I think it was.
Wow.
A little bit too overcomplicated in its day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
Cool. So when you've been out and about then, we always go and speak to people about their favourite finds. So obviously you gave me a little tour just a second ago before we
yep.
started the podcast. I'm coming up to explore that cabinet myself, I'm telling you. But within that cabinet, which are your favourite personal finds that you've had? And it isn't always necessarily we say gold or silver because the artefacts sometimes are more special, aren't they? But what are some of your favourite finds?
I have in that cabinet. I could walk over and actually show you that. Shall I do that? Because there's
Yeah,
two
we'll
items there. I
describe
didn't
it as
mention these
well.
from the. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a little tour of Regton. As
Yes.
we go over, we have our trowels here.
Lovely.
Go back a little bit. Come round. More trowels. I'll just spin around to the whole shop first of all.
Yep.
Okay, through to archways and other displays. But if I come into the camera here, don't know whether you can see.
Yeah, we can see really well.
Right at the back, there's a diver's breastplate
Oh, yes.
in the middle.
Yep.
That came from the Skerries Lighthouse off Anglesey. Remember, I said parents had a cottage up there. We used to go out there
Yep.
regularly with the local fishermen, which my father used to help out a lot, so we didn't have to pay, which was nice.
Yep.
But it was after a storm. It was a very low tide, and Skerries is a very dangerous place.
Mm.
But that had been pulled up by the storm and stuffed under some rocks.
Oh, wow.
And I found it, and I was probably about 13, and
Hmm.
dragged that back to my father and the lighthouse keepers, because they were manned in those days.
Yep.
He said, "What an amazing find! You can keep it. It's a Royal Navy breastplate,
Wow.
and imagine what kind of storm it has to be to drag that up from the bottom."
Absolutely, you're right.
So
And then
for
go
me
out
in
over the
here, it's
rocks.
probably that. There's all the general stuff, your keys, your toys, your spoons, your fishing
Yeah.
weight, buckles, a metal spatula,
Oh.
some Roman coins, but mainly grots,
Yeah.
keys. People look in here and they say, "Well, you've got glass bottles, etc., and you've got clay pipes." You know,
Yeah.
these are things you find when you're looking at the ground. You might be in an area that's a rubbish dump.
Yes.
You find some interesting things as well. Um, Coins, many coins we found over the years.
Lovely.
Barreling machine, cleaning them up. You can
Yeah.
clean things up absolutely beautifully in a barreling machine up here at the top. Um,
Ooh.
but here, this rifle launch grenade is probably my brother's favourite.
Wow, look at that.
Exactly, read it says found twice, found in 1983 and 1987. It was caked. The grenade part was caked in very heavy. I'm just walking back. Very heavy kind of mud, really thick, hard mud. And he
Yeah.
was 14 at the time, given his age away as well. And he thought, big iron thing, I don't know what this is. I'll lean it up. And he left it against a fence post in the drained lake, because that's where
Ah,
it
okay.
was found. And he thought,
Yeah.
I'll pick it up later. And he didn't. He left it there. So I'm just plugging the battery back into the. There you
So
go. I'll pick it up later, and he didn't. They filled the lake and drained it again 4 years later, and because the dam was leaking, and
yeah.
detecting and found something similar again. So I found one of these before. I'm sure I put it. Oh, look, there's a fence post. I did leave it here. This thing. He's driving by this time, rolls around the corner, a little chunk comes off, he sees a bit of brass, brings it into here. This was our workshop. This is where we made the S-shaped stems and the vacuum forming, etc., and many other things we did here before we turned
Yeah.
it into a shop. And he set about it with a hammer and chisel
Oh
until
my goodness.
a big chunk fell off, and he thought, "Oh, that's a funny looking cog." At that moment, I walked in and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm cleaning up that thing we found in the lake." He said, "Don't touch it anymore. You know that's a grenade." Is it? Use your hammer and chisel on it. So at that point, he stopped, obviously. And my father, being in the RAF, knew a little bit about things. So had a look at it and saw that there was a cap, managed to unscrew that, saw inside it was totally inerted, never had any was a Bakelite transit cap,
Mm.
nothing inside. And then they set about cleaning it up, and it's a beautiful piece of work of art.
Mm.
And it's a Mills, I think it's a 3A, a rifle launch grenade.
Amazing. Wow.
So
So that
found
that covers the a good find and a weird find at the same time, doesn't
yeah,
it?
actually hitting anything that looks like a grenade with a hammer. No.
No, anything that looks like a grenade or a bomb or
Leave it
anything
where
like
it is.
that,
Leave it
don't
where it
touch
is.
it.
Get on the
Back away.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a few instances of guests that have had similar stories to that. Oh dear. And then obviously Regton and yourself, you go out and about to a lot of rallies and some of the charity events, Rodney Cook, for example.
Yeah.
What's the greatest thing you've seen discovered at any of those events? Do you remember?
You may have heard of the Midland Jewel, which was found by Garrett, I think it was 1982 or 81. But there was a rally held at Midland Castle around that area
Mm.
in the, again, I think it's 80s or 90s. And the Midland Ring was found.
Mm.
And that was so crisp. It said inside, I think it was "Love Ye Only," and
Oh,
my brother and I held that.
yeah.
That was a very interesting find. Um, some of them are not valuable. When you mentioned Rodney Cook and
Mm.
Gary Cook, he found a axe mold.
Ooh,
So
yes.
that's that's a
So
unusual. Since
interesting.
then, I've actually heard of quite a few. In fact, one guy actually found both parts, the male and the
Wow.
female, for the
Yeah,
castle.
yeah.
Um, last year, I think it was. Interesting finds are more interesting than valuable, if you know what I mean. I have
Yes.
been there when valuable finds have been there. 3 big gold torques were found at a Newbury rally
Wow.
back in the day. But yeah, some very interesting things. Roman mirror, another one.
Yeah. Stuff like that. That's what I mean. It's not always the gold and silver, is it? And sometimes, like the axe molds, if there's a gap or we don't quite understand how they did things, and then some of the things that are found can, show us the way, show us what they did. So yeah, it's amazing to find stuff like that. Absolutely. And then you get the odd and the weird finds. So you've touched upon the
Yeah.
launcher. Anything else that you've seen?
Well, my apart from that in the cabinet, I have found a hoard, and that's my notable find, and that was
Oh.
24 cans of lager and a bottle of vodka. Um, again, quite some time ago at Barmouth,
Oh.
when there were just sand dunes at the end of the harbour, not where they are now. And obviously somebody was going to have a party and decided to bury them. And it was days of tin cans, not aluminium. So when I dug them up, the bag just fell apart, and the tins were just covered in rust.
Yeah.
So I did the logical thing. The bins are about a quarter of a mile away, so I dug a big hole and buried the tins.
Reburied.
I wasn't going to try and do 4 or 5 trips carrying them down to the bin. Maybe I should have done. But the bottle of vodka I wasn't going to leave. And I wasn't going to drink it either, but I wasn't going to leave, because of growing up on Anglesey and playing in the beach, etc. There was glass everywhere. I wasn't going to leave a glass bottle, so I just emptied that and then went metal detecting back to the car slowly with. I'm thinking people are looking at me really odd, and to my flies, and they're pointing at me again. What's going on? As only as I got to the car and put the vodka bottle in the bin, that I realised that people were thinking, look at that metal detectorist. He's out there, he's drank a bottle of vodka, and he's trying to find some money to get another bottle. And dawned on me, I was like, oh, you idiot. And then I went to the car and had a mild panic attack that somebody was going to call the police on me.
Yeah, there's a drunk guy metal detecting on the beach.
Yes, and he's now got in the car and is about to drive off.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yes, that was a fun one. I do recount that one quite a bit because it encompasses a number of things.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. So, what's your favourite history era? Do you have a favourite era, or does it all just fascinate you equally?
I've always, because I said most of my detecting was beach detecting. As a kid, I didn't do any field detecting. I did later on. Didn't enjoy it because of getting muddy. In fact, like 2 weekends ago, getting the dinner plates on the bottom of your feet on a muddy field is not exactly fun for any of us. And you're trying to scrape it off, and it's now stuck on your spade, and you can't get off your spade. It's on now your heel. All that.
You're just a mud monster, yeah.
And my father was never into field detecting. Never.
All right.
He did woodlands, parks when you could in those days. Again, public footpaths with permission from the farmers. And beaches. So that's where I grew up. So I've always been a case of, what's this? This is interesting. That's the kind of period that I'm interested in. I found something. What is it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. No actual period. These days, I love seeing the finds that people bring in to show us. Sometimes being able to identify, most of the time we can, or give them a good idea. And sometimes we go, what is it? Well, it's one of them. What's one of them? Well, that's one.
Let's try and work it out together. Yeah, because sort of the theme and the reason I got into doing the podcast is I'm learning history as I go. I fell in love with metal detecting and learning as I go. Did geography at school. Didn't really like history at school because it was all World War II stuff. So what I do is as you say, when I find something, whatever it is, enjoy the research, finding out what it is, and then I learn that period of history through the things I find. I find that way fascinating and keeps me going. And then everything's exciting as I find it. Yeah. It's lovely. Awesome. So on that, then you're not going to have a particular favourite monarch or emperor, are you? Or is it just again all of them?
Again, like you said, history didn't appeal to me at school. Geography did, same. Physics, yes, but not history.
Yeah. It's funny the way it falls, doesn't it, from your from what you did at school and when you grow up into adulthood, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So we always want to give a bit of advice to new metal detectorists. So,
Okay.
obviously, one of the things is permissions and how you go about getting permissions, and any advice you might have to a newbie that's trying to reach out and find permissions.
These days, it's getting a little bit harder, as we all know.
Mm.
Farmers are becoming more aware of what they can do with their land with regards to metal detectorists.
Yes.
Um, I would say there are always go to your local clubs. Those clubs can be 20, 30 miles away. It's a bit like fishing in that sense.
Mm.
People who live over here fish over there. People who live over there fish over there. Metal detectors
Yeah.
users are very much the same. Don't find anything where I live, but I do over in that town.
Yeah.
Go do ask permission. If you have young children, okay, and you take one of them with you and ask permission of the farmer. Trying to keep my son or daughter interested in history,
Mm.
or for a show and tell at school. Can we detect in that woodland or that public footpath?
Yes.
It can help open the door. And what you're trying to do is get that opening in the door so that the farmer can then see you and judge you for who and what you are.
Yes.
Because he doesn't know who the hell you are when you turn up at the door, and he's got every
Exactly.
reason to say no. So
Yes.
try and give him a reason to say, okay, let's have a look at you and see what you can do.
Yeah.
Even if it's asking permission to detect on the public footpath, the public footpath is his land. It's not. You only have to
Mm.
walk along it, nothing else.
Yes.
But there are also paid days that organisations are doing these days that we never used to have that. They've obviously
Mm.
more after COVID, especially.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's go and ask. Does your friend have a field, have a horse or whatever?
Mm.
What do you do for a living? I'm a fencer. I'm sure you can get some land through if you're putting fences up around places. Uh,
Yeah.
but sometimes you think outside the box. An electrician,
Yeah.
labourer,
Yeah.
anything. Farmers are always after something, preferably for nothing, but like most of if you can offer a service, etc., and he finds it useful, you're another pair of eyes on his land.
Mm.
You can't be everywhere. It's another pair of eyes, ears, pointing out things. Oh, I've noticed somebody's been tipping something down on such and such lane near your gates. You might
Yeah.
want to have a look at it. It's all useful, and they do recognise that.
Yeah, really good points there. Make yourself useful for the farmer. Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
just go obviously wanting to detect on their land. So I've done similar. I've helped the farmer find things that he's dropped in a field, that kind of thing.
done that.
Picked up rubbish. You find the bits where people have dumped McDonald's or whatever out the window on the road and it's gone over the hedge and into their field. So, you always make a point of going, I've got all this out for you and sharing your finds. Do you want any of this? All of that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I always say farm shops, go and chat to them, but you're right. They've always got all kinds of different trades on their land, haven't they? So yeah, you ask around. Don't be
And
afraid
if,
to ask who
and if
knows
you
who.
do get permission, find the oldest person who's still alive, who's worked the land, because he'll know things that other people won't.
Yes, good point. Good point. Yes, where one field might be particularly trashy because they used to use that as their dumping ground on the farm, that kind of thing. Yeah, all that kind of information.
That's where we always put the threshing machine next to
Yes.
the traction engine, and
Yeah.
therefore the coke is more prevalent in this corner where they've shoveled it out of the traction engine and it's then been ploughed into the field. So it's worse in
Yeah.
this area and gets better as it goes across.
Yes. Brilliant. Really good top tips there. Fantastic. So, bucket listers then, Marcus, come on now. What have
Coin.
you
Simple,
what
quite simple.
go
Never
on.
ever found a gold coin. Again,
Ah,
because of beach detecting, found lots of rings, jewelry, crosses, St. Christopher's, all sorts of things like that. Silver, mainly gold, but
yeah.
some silver as well. But I've never found a gold coin.
There we
And
go.
therefore, but the chances of me finding a gold coin are very slim because these days I do more field detecting, but not
Mm,
enough. And I can't do
mm.
enough because
Yes, you're running the mothership.
this
Yeah, exactly.
takes a lot of time.
Well, hopefully you will. I'm sure you will eventually. I haven't found any gold yet, so I've got to get on the gold train.
I do
When
come
you
these.
when you have found gold, have you done the gold dance? Has the gold
No,
dance been
not
premiered?
no, because to me, gold it would be inland detecting. If it was a gold item inland, not even a watch strap. Come to think of it, but yeah, it'd have to be an inland item, preferably a coin. And I will do a silly gold dance if I do find one.
Yay! We're glad to hear it. Make sure you get that on camera. And we do the ultimate bucket list. So we're on the season 2 ultimate bucket list now. Ultimate
Yeah.
bucket lister list. So we ask our guests to place one item on the ultimate bucket lister list so that everybody can have a list together to try and obtain something. Now this season, we're trying to keep it in the realms of reality. We had a few out there wacky type bucket listers last season. So in your opinion, Marcus, what should everyone have on their bucket list and hope to find one day?
Hadn't thought about that one.
Mm.
A complete crotal bell.
Yes, absolutely. A ringer.
Yes.
Yeah.
He leans across out of view. And hopefully, yes, there it is. There is one there I can see.
Here's one we made earlier, or found earlier.
Destroying part of the shop as we go.
There we go.
There
Listen to that. That's
a
brilliant.
complete one. And you also got to be careful. That's a rumbler. If it's that way up, it's a rumbler. That way up, it's a crotal bell. And if you look at horse decorations, most of them, if they're decorations, they're normally up that way.
Right.
Put onto the leather, etc. And there were lots of the Shire horses had sometimes hundreds of them in different sizes.
Oh, wow.
But another thing it was used for, not just finding where your animal was. If you're ploughing a field, 2 different bells.
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of sync. The farmer can instantly see that Daisy over here is being lazy and Robin over here is pulling. So he's connecting because he hears the trod has gone out of sync.
Wow, that is interesting. I'd never thought about that before. There you go. That was one of the first things I found when I went out on my first permission. In one day, I found 2 Elizabeth Hammond coins and a complete ringing crotal bell. And if I wasn't already hooked, I was totally hooked after that day.
Last year, Jason Jones did a charity for a Young Children's Society. And on that, it was a private estate landowner had given permission for this. He was head of the charities that gave him his land basically for everyone to detect, and for young children to detect as well. We took a load of detectors, Ace 200s down for the junior people to use with help. And that rally, I think there was something, I don't know whether they were complete, but certainly about 8 or 9 crotal bells were found on that one rally.
Wow.
It was notable. I remember it because it was so many people said have been found. There was also a very nice cross came up as well, and pieces as well. And hopefully we may get back on that land. Jason, if you're watching, are we get back on that land?
Come on, Jason. Fantastic. Awesome. So let's go back into the realms of Regton now. What do we want to talk about? What's exciting for 2024? What are you excited about right now?
Manufacturers are always working on something. And if we are, for instance, we have been Minelab importer. We have been Technetics importer. We're neither of those anymore. We are back as a Minelab dealer at last. But we have been Garrett's importer for 29, nearly 30 years. XP's, I think, for about 19 years.
Yeah.
Which shows their trust with us, etc. So we do importers get to know about what is coming? And the answer is ultimately no. We get little snippets of information. We sometimes hear something that somebody shouldn't have said, and we can work out some things. But in general, we don't know what's coming.
Until it's coming.
Until maybe 2 or 3 days before. Something like that gets up. Take the last launch for us with the Apex. we sat and watched the live launch the same as every person in the world did. And that was the same for
Wow.
every Garrett dealer.
Yeah.
No whatsoever.
That's
We,
amazing.
we did hear the name the day before,
Mm.
that there was, but that was it. We knew the name, we
Wow.
see the unit. The
Yeah.
Deus launch, we knew something was coming. We only got the actual idea of the launch date. I think it was 6 days beforehand.
Okay.
But
That's surprising.
that's the launch for them, is going into then their promotional to build up.
Yeah.
The actual
Yeah.
launch date of Medtech these days has changed because manufacturers tend to give out information a little bit beforehand and cryptically, and
Mm.
then they still don't tell us. um, and then they say, right, here's the product. They'll announce it. We all get to see it. We'll probably get a couple of days' notice on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get sneak previews, but if we do, we're probably on a non-disclosure. We wouldn't be able to say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But most of it is we see it at the same time as everybody else, and we're learning very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Also have a tendency to do this at 4:30 on a Friday, so they all go home and leave us to pick up the pieces while we're trying to figure out what's going on. But this year, there have been some notable manufacturers that haven't brought things out for a while, and I expect
Mhm.
things
Yes.
this year.
Yes. Yes, so
Uh,
obviously we've had some big ones recently, haven't we, with the DS2? Well, it's been out for quite a while now, the
well,
DS2,
since
hasn't it?
you've had the Jazz 2, you've had the Apex Minelab, you've obviously had the Manticore and the Xterra.
Yeah.
With Nocta, you've had the Simplex Ultra, the
Mhm.
Legend, of course, and the score and double scorers they have now.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the main machines out there.
Yeah. So there's gonna be some more stuff coming soon.
We,
You must
we,
have
I was going to say,
go on.
we'd love to see something from Seascope and from Viking. Viking, we don't know whether anything will come from them, but they have a specialist niche in this hobby, and
Mm.
outside the hobby actually, pipe and cable locating, or pipe and manhole locating. Their big
Mm.
business. And
Yeah.
Seascope, yeah, we'd love to see something new from them.
Yeah, be exciting. That's really interesting to hear. You literally find out, as we all do, when they start dropping little breadcrumbs, don't they? Like you say, little hints, generating a bit of excitement, and
Yeah,
then yeah,
and when they do that, we're generally at that point we are generally told that we can drop those breadcrumbs as well, and we will have probably a better understanding of what is coming, but not full information.
no, no,
They
not
do. They
until
have
it's
to play.
launched.
People have to understand. Manufacturers have to play this close to their chest because they don't want the other manufacturers knowing what they're doing.
That's right. Yeah, they want to be ahead of the game, don't they? They want to come
And
out with the new
especially
stuff.
this day and age with social media, you only need one person to go, I'm going to take the jump on every other distributor, dealer, YouTuber, and post, this is the new spade.
Yeah.
Okay. And he gets the hits and he
Yes.
seems to get the glory. And manufacturers don't want that.
No.
They want it to be
Yeah.
even and a hit at the same time.
Yes, yes, and not create confusion and all the rest of it, like you say.
Yeah.
You must have seen throughout the years the change in the metal detectors themselves and the advancements. We always talk about this. So you like the 70s machines, the big heavy ones with
I'm
the
off on
big
a walk again.
batteries.
I'm off on a
Let's go to
walk.
walk again. To where we are now with the XP, the RX, and the Deus, how light they
Right.
are, and obviously
I'll
chargeable.
turn around this way. So
Yes.
this is a Seascope Mark II.
Wow. Look at
Okay,
that.
quite modern. It does come apart. It's got batteries inside the end of the stem, but that's about in 1972.
Wow.
We have it's probably going to be the wrong way around, but 1968
Yeah, yeah, can see
for
that.
this one. We took these to the rallies this year, but we have down here we have a Fieldmaster 44. We have a Arado IBA, I think it's 95 or is it 65? Sorry, 45. An
Yeah,
Arado 120, and we have two Garrett machines here. So these are just some of the old machines that we have.
Yeah.
We've just put a
In the
load out
showroom.
this year for people to look at, but
Yeah.
we have quite a few more. But we try to keep only the ones that are immaculate these days. But
Mm.
we have some quite weird and wonderful items downstairs, tucked away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. So you not only go to your showroom there in Birmingham to see all the latest and greatest stuff, you can go and check out some of those old beasts that did as well
Yeah,
in the past.
and the modern things as well. So when you look at the wireless machines from XP, etc., you know the Oryx, the Deus 2,
Mm.
fully modular, great machines.
Yeah.
Because some people don't know that we actually do security as well. So again, just turn this around very slightly, and up there
Yeah.
you can there it is there.
See the scanner.
Archway. So we've been doing security archways for many years for Garrett. At one stage, we were in let's say the majority of warehousing for a very popular firm that kind of has a shape and a dot.
Yeah.
Um, we we have many archways there, but we do loss prevention, security,
Mm.
handhelds
Yeah.
for all sorts of companies around the country. Some blue chip ones as well.
Fantastic. That is so interesting. Brilliant. So, Marcus, our time is nearly up. Would you
Yes.
like to give a bit of a shout out where people can find you, your website, all over
Yes,
Facebook, that kind of
certainly.
thing?
So we are on Facebook. We have our Regton Facebook page, to which I'm on there. I think is Regton Marcus or Marcus Regton. I always get it wrong which way around it is. Seb is
Yeah.
on there as well. Nigel is on there as well. As three individuals that we reply for the company.
Yeah.
We're also on. We have a little bit on TikTok, not much. We have our own YouTube page as well. In fact, I started a YouTube page sometime in 2006. So that's
Wow.
about 9 months after YouTube started. So we try to
Proper
keep things
OG.
well if we can. I must resurrect that page. I think one of the items on there has had something like 250,000 hits or something like that, but I haven't done
Yeah.
anything on it for years. Our webpage is www.regton.com,
Yep.
which will take you to our shop. We used to do a catalogue. We stopped doing catalogue and price list, save the planet. Don't cut
Very
so many
good.
trees down. So everything is on our website. We're adding to that all the time. We've improved our website over the last year, and we have some more changes coming shortly, which improve it a little bit more.
Really excited to see that. Really excited, Marcus. And of course, you've been kind enough to let me become part of Team Regton. So we have a 10% discount code on some of the items in the store. So that's the DH podcast code. So,
Mhm.
yeah, when you go to check out,
Just
put
for you
that
to
in.
remember, not everything can be discounted. Okay,
That's right. Just some of
not
the
everything
items.
can, but
Yeah.
wherever we can, we offer that discount. Yes.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. Just pop it in at checkout. You never know. You might get some pennies off.
Yeah. And
Brilliant, Marcus.
we also do the reward scheme as well. So anything you do buy, you get into our Regtons. Tons of the little
Yes.
play on words into the skid. People often refer to us as Regtons. We're not.
Yes.
We're Regton.
Regton. Regton.
Regton. But go to Regtons. So people look up Regtons. There is
Yeah.
actually a company called Regtons and
Is there?
Regton, which is a music company as well. We've kind of steered into that skid with the reward scheme. So
Oh, brilliant.
tons are the coin with the R on.
Yeah.
That's the reward scheme, Regtons.
Yes, that launched last
You
year,
can
didn't
find,
it?
yeah, it did.
Mm.
You can find
Yeah.
tons of things on there.
Tons of things. I love it. I love it. I've already got tons of points after
Good.
my purchase from Madea's too. Brilliant, Marcus. Thank you so much. Everybody, reach out to Marcus should you need any advice on your detectoring gear. They're always there. You've always helped me out, like I say. So thank you very much, and looking forward to perhaps meeting you at one of the rallies this year.
Yes,
I'll come and say
we'll
hello.
be there at the main ones, of course.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks again, Marcus, and take care. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.